Hello, power athletes. Hello, Tex.
Hey, Luke.
John, friend of the podcast. Nice of you to join
Always
us.
glad to be a friend of the podcast.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The oldest running joke on the podcast is John Welborn, friend of the podcast. I think.
I was never supposed to be a regular contributor on this podcast.
But here you are, still showing up.
Well, you keep sending me these calendar invites. And then I keep getting texts. Hey, John, you know you got to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a friend of the podcast.
But you're going above and beyond. This is a totally voluntary role. It's optional if you want to be here. But in standard John Welborn fashion, just persevere and over-excel. Would you concur, Tex?
I concur.
I need a harumph out of that guy.
Harumph. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to another episode of the premier podcast in strength and conditioning.
Ing.
I'm John. That was so bad. I'm gonna work on that for you.
Please do.
Okay. Is that Tex?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like the voice of an angel.
Yes, it is. Mr. Tax McQuilkin.
Also known as tax evasion.
We won't go into that story. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what we will get into today is a question submitted by you, the listener, who we love and appreciate. Hugs and loves to all you guys. If you haven't left us a review and a rating on iTunes.
Have you guys ever listened to the radio? There's that dude that's got those annoying car commercials. He's like, hey, I'm Scott Elder.
Yes.
I'm going to do anything to earn your business.
Yeah.
The dude that left that Hugs and
Love?
Yeah, Hugs and Loves did the Scott Elder.
Ah.
So as I was listening the other day, and I like when I hear the guy's commercial, I just turn off the radio, and then I realized that dude was copying the awful Scott Elder
That's
commercials.
Interesting. Yeah, I am very radio advertising to me is like, how have they not figured out how to do it right? You know, these local businesses are just so cheesy with their ads.
One of my favorite TV shows of all time, unfortunately, got canceled. It was
WKRP in Cincinnati?
No, it was called Detroiters. It's about these two comedians, improv dudes, but they are the local advertisement for Detroit. It's fucking hilarious. And the short commercials that they make are so intentionally stupid and hilarious for the small business.
Yeah.
I don't know how the show was canceled. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I heard great things about it as well.
What's the one where they have like the local AC people?
Are you talking about the radio ad in Texas?
Yeah, where
they use like the
guy
dramatic
and his wife,
sound,
dun dun dun, and it's the guy wife, and they're like, I can't remember, but it's like the owners, like the owner and his wife, or they're co-owners, and they do these radio spots.
Yeah,
and they're awful.
Yeah, it's got to go.
And the worst part is when we had problems with our AC, Kate called them because she'd heard it on the radio, and they came and they did a fucking awful job.
So it worked.
Yeah, and then and I even told them, I'm like, man, like the guy didn't fix it. They charged us. They
Your
did an awful
work
job.
is worse than your advertising.
I called them back and I was like, next time I hear your advertisement, I'm going to call that radio station and tell you guys are frauds. And I left them an awful Yelp review.
It's a shame.
You know who left us a good Yelp or iTunes review? 5 stars?
Huh.
A mystery writer named Jay Suchar.
Huh.
He wrote...
Suture?
Suture?
Like he's
Just
suturing.
Suchar?
So he's like suturing up a wound?
I suppose you could say that. But he wrote...
How do you know it's a he? Doesn't sound so mysterious, Tex.
It's not like we know this person or anything. The Power Athlete Rodeo's become a must-listen podcast. What was it before, John?
Wait, did you say Power Athlete Rodeo?
Yeah. John, Luke, Tex, and Callie do such an amazing job hosting brilliant guests and covering much more than just performance, psychology, and nutrition. Mm-hmm. The crew has a unique skill of educating while making you laugh and keeping you engaged each step along the way.
Callie getting some love. What our listeners don't know is she trims these episodes down from 6, 7, 8 hours to a brief 3-hour conversation.
And the reason that we'd like to run the podcast so long is so that Callie has to listen to this awfulness.
That's right.
Oh, that's the longest running joke in Power Athlete Radio.
That's the longest running joke. Hey, let's make a really long one that Callie... And I know, like, I was firmly convinced that she wasn't really listening past the first 5 minutes, but I actually think she listens to them now.
Multiple times. And what's great is every week, despite our requests, multiple, she still's not adding her laugh track of her just laughing when she's cackling, which is every 10 seconds.
It's called the cackle track.
Cackle track. That's a good
Right
one.
now, I can hear her cackling in my head when she listens to this.
Cackling. Speaking of cackling, wait, what were we talking about? Oh, leave a review.
Yeah, leave a review. Try to be
yeah,
funny.
share the episode.
Give us your best poor local advertising shtick.
As long as it's 5 stars.
Yeah, absolutely. Or else we'll find you, and I haven't said this in a while, show up to your door and slap you with a bag of frozen trout.
Didn't you say, wasn't it a bag of oranges?
Well, the oranges are a little soft. That's what I've been...
Frozen trout?
That's what I've been hitting McQuilkin with these days, and he isn't even bruising anymore.
Yeah.
No?
So you're slapping him with a frozen trout?
So now it's gone to a bat. No, it's a
sack.
Yeah,
Sack
like
of frozen trout.
A burlap sack. So it kind of scratches you as well. No, I'm just kidding, listeners. In text, I'm not actually hitting text with a bag of frozen oranges.
He just winked.
But what we are going to do is get to the hotline, because the hotline is open. And we have a question. That hotline number is 929-464-4640, 929-ING-ING-0. Now, it could have been 929-ING-ING-ING, but one of us on the show decided to give up the echo, so we had to settle for 2.
Oh.
That's right. Today, what did I want to get to? What was I going to I guess we'll just get into the voicemail. How about we get in the voicemail, answer the question. But if you want to leave us a voicemail, that's what I was going to say. Go ahead, call that number, leave us a voicemail. Be brief, be bold, be gone.
You can also text any kind of strange pictures to this too. So Luke really enjoes
that's so weird, John. The Penguin has been saying that on his stories.
Oh.
And now it slips up again. He's the Penguin right here.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? McQuilkin, what do you think?
McQuilkin.
Do you concur?
If anybody was the Penguino, it's Luke Summers.
Well, you don't have to convince me, John.
All right, on to the voicemail.
Anybody that can Photoshop to text is the Penguin.
John, can we just stay on track for once? All right. You guys ready?
Yeah, way to change the subject, Penguin. Go.
Okay. You want to talk about it? I'll talk. Wait, no, we got to get to this. Here we go.
Hey there, Power Athlete crew. It's Jim from Ottawa, Canada.
Hey, Jim.
I'm a diesel mechanic and firefighter here in Canada. I've been following you guys for several years, taking the Power Athlete online course, all that good stuff, hoping to come to Texas when things open up. Question for you guys. I know you're into trucks. At least one of you is. The other two are seemingly just following in the footsteps. What do you guys drive? Year, make, and model? What's the motor in it? And how do you approach hobbies and development? I know John's big into welding and metal fab, getting into some equipment fabrication. I want you guys to dive into that, dive into your hobbies, how you approach them, how often you spend time on them, all that good stuff. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Jim, for calling. I wonder who the truck guy is. He's talking about text you or me.
Well, seeing as we all drive trucks.
That's right.
Diesel trucks.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, well, when they run.
What do you mean?
I don't know. So what's your daily driver and how much life does it have left in it?
Well, I changed the batteries.
Oh, okay.
So I had actually batteries have a shelf life of about 7 years. And so I had to replace my batteries and get new batteries. Truck fired up, keeps running.
There you go.
What kind of truck?
My daily driver is a 2006 Chevy Duramax LBZ with a Allison 6-speed.
You bought it new?
Yeah, I bought it brand new in 06.5.
In Kansas? Were you at the...
No, I was in California. So I had another Duramax, and the place that I would get it serviced, the service dude hit me up and said, hey, the new LBZs are coming in. If you're going to upgrade, buy this one and then drive it forever, because the year out, like the emissions are coming in like 07, 08.
Yeah, 07.
So I bought that LBZ, and I've been fucking hammering on it for a bunch of years. So it's been a really good truck. So I can't complain on that one.
What's your mileage at right now?
I think I'm like at 240.
And then what else have you done? I mean, you got wheels and tires on there, right?
I put
and you used to roll larger wheels, but then you've downgraded since.
Well, it came with a lift. So the guy had a lift, and it had like, I want to say like 35, so like 18-inch wheels. And then before we sold the van, the van's tires had fuel 20s that were actually Chris owns now. So the tires were in much better shape because I was having to go buy tires, and you know how much I hate buying tires.
Yeah.
So we sold the van with my old wheels, and then I threw those brand new tires on my Duramax, and I drove those until recently when I want to say Memorial Day, Method had a deal on wheels. And so I went back to 17s and ordered some new Methods for it. So I was pretty happy with those. So I got new wheels, did brakes at 200,000. I think I just got a check engine light. So I think one of my glow plugs is out. So I got to swap that here in the next couple of days. Other than that, just exhausted an airbox and just driven it stock. And it's been absolutely bulletproof for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, wasn't that variable vane turbo trip in as well for a little bit? Yeah.
So that was a sensor. So I had to replace the sensor, which was like a $25 part. And then I also had another issue where like the coolant level wasn't getting up, and it turned out that both of the thermostats had gone bad. So I put new thermostats in, changed the sensor, and then I got to do this. So I mean, just really tiny little maintenance stuff. I did have a drive shaft explode. That was kind of an interesting one.
Oh, yeah. What was the situation on that one again?
So...
were you hauling something?
No. So what happened was the way that the U-bolts attach for the leaf springs, over some time it must have gotten loose and augered, and like the hole kind of augered out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I had like a deal where I accelerated and the axle shifted, and when that happened, the drive shaft broke. And the problem is it broke at the front by where the transmission is. And so it bounced off of the ground, went out to the side. And then we happened to be driving over like a bridge that had like a median on the side, hit that, and then exploded back and hit into the passenger window shattered the window.
That's right.
So I got a new drive shaft.
Was somebody in the passenger seat? No.
Wasn't DJ with you?
Yeah, DJ was with me in the front seat, but that was in the back seat. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, so like other than just I guess when you drive a truck for almost 250,000 miles, you're going to run into problems.
Yeah, but you're driving like you're granny shifting. You're not double clutching like you should be.
Dude, I did get us to, how fast did I get us to the airport that one day?
13 seconds. I think it was light speed and we traveled back in time. No, it was like 20 minutes. And
we're like 45 minutes away from the airport.
And it's 45 without traffic. It's 45. And that day, I think you were double clutching like you should. But no, like the thing about it is you haven't nursed that truck at all. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I wouldn't say I wouldn't call you a reckless driver. I would say it's very calculated, but it's aggressive. Like you're an aggressive driver, and that truck's held up.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that we've talked about this before. Is like
don't baby it.
Don't baby it, man. Like it'll stay tight. Just let it rip.
So Roger texted me yesterday. He sold his 94 12 valve.
Oh yeah.
That I posted a picture on my Instagram. So he was like, "Oh, I'm thinking of selling it." And I was like, He's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "I wouldn't take less than 20 grand for it." He's like, "You sure? That seems like too much." I'm like, "Luke sold his 98 for 18.5, which I thought was way too cheap."
Yeah.
He listed it at 20. A dude hit him up within an hour and was there within 3 with cash and bought it outright.
There you go.
He said
it was same deal.
Yeah, it was driving away. He was at tears in his eyes. Like he didn't really want to sell it. He was like, so he's like Daria was in tears because that was her dad's truck. And I told him, I was like, dude, I wouldn't take less than 20. I said, don't list it for 20.
Right.
I mean, there's people searching for those trucks, but that LBZ Duramax has been a pretty coveted truck for a long time. So much so that I parted out an LMM, which is the next generation, which is almost identical to the LBZ, for the 79 K30 or K35 GMC I'm working on.
It's dope. Text me or you.
Well, we used John's truck to take a little road trip to Roswell, New Mexico back in 2018 to pick up my current vehicle, Chevy K30 M1008.
Yep.
And we found it in the desert. Born Ford Venture found it in the desert. It had 37,000 miles on it as a 1986. And some white house paint that we touched up with a little house spray paint. And yeah, still running hot.
We've done aluminum radiator. We had the pump rebuilt. You've done the solenoids. I mean, we've done all. We did. I want to say we have an electric fuel pump on it. We converted it from 24 volt to 12 volt.
Yep.
So that's good. What else have we done to it?
Well, we got the old van wheels that I need to swap on.
You got the wheels that are presently on it from DJ's crew cab, that we got from CJ.
Yeah.
So we picked up that crew cab from CJ, got those wheels. Those are on Tex's truck. And then Tex bought my old 20s that were the old van 20s.
Right.
That are going to go on that thing. But the problem is those are 35s, and those things are cupped to shit.
Well,
they didn't wear very well.
I just need them to roll for a few months until I can get the new tires on there. But the rock stars, I've been rocking rock stars for a couple of years with the wheels, and freaking Aiden, 18-year-old high school, was making fun of me for them.
Yeah.
But last night at the gas station, this 10-year-old kid, I swear to God, comes up to me. He's like, "Man, I love your truck. I'm going to get one of those one day." And I was like, "Thanks, man. Old school." And dropped the old school on him. And he's like, "Yeah, I love those rims too." And I was like, "Oh, shit."
Dude, what you got to do, man, is you sell those. So sell those. Sell the wheels you get from DJ and those tires because they're worth more than what you paid. Sell all those, and then you just got to get a pair of like those Methods, which are like $150. If they come up on sale, they'll probably have a sale here at the end of the summer. And then we just get like those Patagonias that DJ's running on his big rig are pretty reasonably priced. I think you can get a set for like under $1,000.
Yeah, and I'm driving maybe 6 miles a day.
But the thing is, if you put a decent tire in there, it's going to be your truck's pretty.
Yeah, and so you can hear it from the barn.
Oh,
before you're even passing, like as you're coming across Verdes, I can hear your
the whine
of the tires. So like it's going to be a quieter ride. It's going to be a smoother ride. It's going to feel like a new truck.
Yeah,
and that's going back to when I replaced the tires on that 98 before I sold it. I think that's when I told you, I'm like, dude, it is like a brand new truck. Like everything is softer and just smoother and straighter. So I regret not doing that earlier. Well, I guess I don't. But then I replaced those tires just to sell it, which
I would.
It was a bad move.
Yeah, no. You always sell it with ball tires.
Yeah, so I fucked that up a little bit. But now that has me in a 2018 Ram 2500 with the 6.7 Cummins. And man, I dig the truck. And it was not the truck I had planned on buying. I planned on just buying some 1,500 grocery hauler with a decent cab space and keep it cheap and keep it used and, try to keep the budget around like that $15,000 to $17,000. And I just couldn't do it, dude. I stewed on doing that almost daily for months. And then I went and test drove, and I wanted to get just something, like base trim. I don't want any bells and whistles. To me, like I didn't use it. I got along fine in that 98 with AC, which had power locks, power windows, and that's fine. Like I was really, really happy with that truck. But then I drove this Laredo, or no, not Laredo, Laramie, Dodge Laramie, 2500, just for shits and giggles to see how it rode. And I fell in love with that trim package. And I tried to buy that truck. I told that guy I'd buy that truck right there. And it was like twice what our budget was. And I was with Ashley and the baby. She was young at this time. I'm like, dude, the window's closing. Just get the payment down to this. This is not what I wanted to do. This is not approved, but we just got to make the wife happy. He's like, all right, I'll do it. I'll make it happen. Didn't make it happen.
Is that what Tanner drives?
So
no, he drives a gasser.
He drives a gasser.
A
Laredo
1500. No, it's a 3/4 ton. It's a 2500 gasser.
It's 2500?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's part of the reason I've been making fun of him about it. I was like, dude, you bought a 3/4 ton Ram gasser.
So I pulled the ripcord. I didn't buy that Laramie edition, which is the top trim level.
Dude.
And I'm happy I didn't.
Shaw's got the Rebel.
What I think, and this is my only thing after driving your truck the other day, the seats are more comfortable in the Laramie, at least for me.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah. They are. They're nicer. And so I did. So this is what I was talking about with my old man, because what I had done is I pulled out. I'm like, do I want to get this? Do I want to go with the 6.7? Right. And the big thing I remember talking to you and DJ is like the 68 RFE.
RFE.
Transmission, like it's a coin toss with guys on these Dodge forums who are fanatics.
As long as you don't do a bunch of stupid shit to it.
Right.
These guys do power adders and turbos and all this stuff, man. They put on big injectors and they're blowing like 500-600 horsepower with like 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and then they wonder why their fucking transmission implodes.
And they're also working with the truck as well.
Well, they're also pulling huge loads.
Yeah. So I knew like if I were going to pull anything, it might be one day a boat. It might be one day like a
so you're
camper.
getting a boat?
I don't party barge. Might be. If I were to do anything, I'm not going to haul like.
Well, we have a friend with a boat. We have Thad.
I know, that's right. And then Nate's apparently getting a boat too, so we'll use his stuff too. But no, point being is like I end up just diving in because like, dude, that platform, that Cummins platform, has been tried and true for like 20 years. Like I think it was in the,
it's
in the
longer
80,
than that. It was,
80s. It stood up on the Dodge side.
The first year of the 12 valve, I think, was 89. And so they ran the VE pump in 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. And then they went to the P pump in 94 through 98. And then your 98 and a half has got a P pump. And then they went to the V
24 valve.
Yeah, the 44 VP, I think, or the VP 44. And then after that, they and then I forgot where it cascaded after that. Then it got to the 6.7.
Yeah. So then what I ended up just like, number one, I hate buying cars. I just don't like anything about it. So I committed to myself and talked to the wife, and I'm like, theoretically, this motor should last forever.
Yeah.
Right. There's things going to fall apart, but I think the lifetime value of this vehicle is going to be a lower investment versus like buying a lesser vehicle, buying up in 6 years. Like this could be another 20 years. And because that's what the 98 was. It was running fine.
Yeah.
In 2018, 20 years after it was being manufactured, and that motor and transmission were fine.
I did put new leather seats in it. I redid the dash.
Mm-hmm. We
redid the A-arms and like a bunch of like little just maintenance stuff that somebody hadn't done that you have to do with a 20-year-old car.
Right.
But I think the one thing which I'm going to start looking for, maybe we can find it, is like the upgraded Laramie seats for that, because it'd be nice to just go buy the seats.
Well, that's what I was talking to my dad, and he's like, just swap the seats, And I'm like, all right, yeah. And so I started looking for it, and I was showing him some eBay stuff, and he's like, you're having a baby. Don't swap the seats now. He's like, ruin your seats, then swap the seats. I'm like, all right. So
and I'll just tell you this part. We learned this from the van. If kids throw up on leather, you can clean it real easy. Mm-hmm. If something bad happens in cloth, you'd never get it out.
But that's the point. Then I have to tell the wife,
we got to get new seats.
It becomes a battle to put, $1,500 into new seats, $12 or $2,000 into new seats.
Good thing she doesn't listen to this.
Oh no,
it's like my wife doesn't listen.
Yeah, she's over there putting, ketchup on Italian sausages or something. But so I ended up, long story longer, we were shopping around for now these tradesman models, which a lot of them are just like flat and bare bone work trucks, no carpet, no radio, no nothing. Then I start doing the pricing of, all right, well, I'm going to have to add all this stuff. So then I'm like, all right, I'm going to be in another $2,800 to get like a carpet kit, stereo install. Wife wanted a backup camera, which like isn't terribly hard to install any of this stuff. But then we came across this one 2018 on like, Auto Trader or whatever that was listed at 56,000 miles, and it's 2018, and it's priced, $4,000 under Blue Book, and I'm like, that's a lot of mileage. Let's go but like in the auction, it had 15 on the Carfax. It had 15,000 miles at auction, and it was only 8 months. It had added another 40,000 miles or something around there. Like it was
something weird.
So something weird. So we went to go check it out, and roll up on it. It's clean, body's in good shape, tires are mismatched. All right, so that's kind of like a red flag, right?
Big red flag.
Open it up.
Because it was the rear tires that they put cheaper, newer rear tires on. So somebody came in after
they put cheaper front tires on,
and they put the
front back on the rear, which were like some cheap mud tires, some really douchey like Method knockoff wheels, which I guess I'm fine with, and then like kind of had an odd odor to it, and I'm like, but the mileage.
So it was a kid who was vaping, is what I think.
Yeah, but the mileage is at 14,000. So they fudged the mileage on the listing, and they priced it off this 50,000 miles on a 2018. So it only had 15,000 miles on it. So I go in, start talking numbers, ask about the mileage, ask about previous owner. They obviously don't know anything about it. And I'm like, it's priced right. It also had carpet. It has like stereo back. So it's like a tradesman model, base model with just enough upgrades. And it already had some wheels and tires on it, which like kind of gave me an excuse to stay at that tire size and shit like that. Looks like it's a decent looking truck. So I did it. We did it. We bought it. And that's how I ended up with that truck. And further inspection after walking away is like also the rear wheel wells were just coated in rubber.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so whoever this kid was, or if
Just
the guy who
melted
picked
the
it up,
tire.
just melted the tire in there, and that's why they ended up having to replace.
He had a tuner on
How does
there.
that happen?
No, so what he did is he had a tuner, and he was just fucking stomping it from stoplight to stoplight and just blowing it up. And then I think what he did is when he sold the car, he pulled whatever he had off of it, which, I mean, it's still got warranty, so it's not that big a deal.
And knowing that as well, I did go with the platinum extended warranty. So whatever. We'll see what shakes out. Nothing's been an issue on it. And I mean, you drove it. It drives fine. It does the job.
I test drove the layer. So I test drove a mega cab. This is about a year ago with DJ that had leather, and was it a Laramie or whatever the next one up? It was a nice one.
I think they have a Texas edition or something too. That's
it was like
Longhorn.
That. Yeah, the Longhorn. The only I didn't want a dually, but I wanted to drive the mega cab, and it had the high output motor with the ASIN. So I'd never driven it, so we went and test drove. The interior was such a light tan, like it was like a white tan. And I'm looking at this tan, like who has this interior? But man, those seats were extremely comfortable.
Yeah, the Laramie trim, like the trim kit is in the 2018 at least. That's the only one I really experienced. It moved. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is nice. I could see myself in this. So I don't know if I regret it. I don't think I regret it. I don't think I'd really want it. But
here now we are in 2020. I guarantee we're going to be able to find those seats
at
a much better rate than you found 2 years ago.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It was a good hold on.
And then, so that's what I'm rolling with now. I plan on rolling to that thing for a long time. I'm pretty happy with it. Oh, got new tires, obviously. With the mismatch, it was just like so ghetto. And then I got to figure out what to do with those rims. I think I'm just going to pull off the caps and just spray paint them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like what color?
Black, pink,
just
pink,
redoing
green,
black.
green.
Green. I like green or white.
Green and white.
White. Mm-hmm. Green. Yeah, green and white. I'm working on. It's pretty funny. I had one truck that became two trucks. So I had a 79 K35 that we picked up out of Montana, and I brought it home, and we were going to start kind of doing like a bitchin' restoration and do some stuff to it. When I pulled the carpets back, the floors were pretty rusted out, and I didn't realize it because what they had done is they had taken two pieces of metal and sandwiched them together and then riveted it and then painted it. So when I banged on the floorboards, looked fine. And then I'm like, when we got it in, we pulled the carpets out. What are these rivets? And I drilled out the rivets and found out that instead of fixing the rust, they just encapsulated it, and it had just rusted out. So I had a pretty rusty cab. And then, so I pulled the cab off and was like, instead of doing like this amount of rust repair, because they don't repop like the rockers for that truck, I just found another cab for pretty cheap and got it painted to match. And so I've been working on that, and that's got that LMM Duramax. But then after looking at that cab that was rusted out for a year, I decided to put that cab on my on the frame that was on my ranch truck. So we ripped the ranch truck apart, which is sitting out there like a wounded soldier, and then put all the parts with the 12 valve, the NV, the 205 transfer case, all that stuff into that new truck. So I had one truck that somehow became two trucks.
Somehow.
Divide and multiply.
But the crazy part is I've hoarded enough parts that we have enough parts from trucks that we've scavenged laying around. Like we're like,
So now while that should sound crazy, I think to the two other dudes in this room, it really doesn't, because like trucks just kind of end up here. Some days it's like a Wednesday and we're supposed to be meeting on content or something, and then DJ shows up and the trailer's on the truck. We're like, he must be on a mission from God. And then 2 days later, rolling up, I was just in the car for 40 straight hours, but look, we scored.
Yeah,
that's a Wyoming license plate. Exactly.
Dude, we drove to. So the truck was from Montana. We drove to Wyoming to pick it up. Drove there and drove back. So we got there in 40 hours and back. And I remember, like, I told my wife, I'm like, I'm gonna go look at a truck. I'll be gone a couple hours. I didn't mean a couple days. And then she calls me like the next day. And she's like, "Where the fuck are you?" I'm like, "We're in Wyoming." She's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Don't worry, I'll be fine." So we brought that truck home.
What town was the fire department? It's like Bradford, Montana, or something.
I'll have to look up the name.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But the hilarious part is I was so excited for the truck. And then when we got home and I pulled those floors back and I realized that the truck had been a civilian truck that they had purchased and converted into a fire truck. And when I pulled the floors and started like kind of doing like, you know, like a little detective work, I realized that the truck was originally painted my most favorite color of any Chevy truck, which is dark carmine red. It's like that dark burgundy, like almost like I forgot what the color code would be, but it's like a dark burgundy. Like if you look up dark carmine red, 1979 GMC, that's the original color, and it had a white stripe on it, which is I'm a sucker for two tones in 70s and 80s trucks. So when I saw that, it was like, and then I went and I looked at the SPID, which is the like the little like kind of like build sheet that's in the glove compartment, which it still had. And then I went to the original manuals and it had everything, and I realized that the truck it was a Sierra Grande 1979 GMC K35 with the original grille. Yeah, that's the color. Mm-hmm. So it's that dark red carmine, and it has a white stripe on the side. At that point, I was like, man, we got to get the truck back to looking like that. So converted it to a single rear wheel. We had several beds laying around for me to part. The front end was perfect. Everything was perfect. The doors were perfect. Everything was good. So just had to get the cab painted and taking it back to the original color. So that's what she's going to look like, but a 4-door.
Damn.
Without the white roof. So it didn't have a white roof. So when we stripped the cab, we found out it actually had a dark carmine roof, which was a slightly different option than the matching white roof. So
and the pipe doors. What are you going to do for the doors? Or is that the ranch truck?
That's on the ranch truck. But I'll tell you this: I will never own a truck without doors or convertible in Texas. It's the amount of dust and dirt having no doors on a truck. I'm like, there's no way. I'm never doing this again. This was a terrible idea. Like the amount, like I would get in that truck and there'd be like dirt divers. Like I was like, dude, this, like having a convertible or a truck with no doors in Texas is a terrible fucking idea.
Unless you're gonna be on it every day, right?
Yeah. Or you have a garage to store it in,
yeah,
or something. But like, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna put doors. I got a bunch of doors squirreled.
So part 2 of the question: hobbies, right? So if our listeners aren't aware, John, maybe you could start working with, perfecting the art of fabrication, welding, what you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were moving to Texas, that we were going to buy a piece of land, and there's a certain knowledge of like fabrication and building stuff and fixing stuff that comes with it. So I got really into welding, also to fabricate our blocks, which is part of our Block 1 deal. So weld up all that stuff and then work on the truck. So I got into like the metal fab and the welding more as just a function of like, who do you call for this stuff? Like you got to fix the gate, you got to weld this or fix this. It's just a function of who we are. For hobbies, I like to lift weights. I like to shoot pigs and hunt things. I like to barbecue and cook meat. I like to play with my kids. I like to read them books. I like to work and do an endless podcast. And other than that, I think I read and try to be a good husband. But I don't know like if I have any amazing hobbies. I would love to definitely become a much better hunter. Mm-hmm. Like after listening to Aaron Schneider and this long distance, like I would love to do something like that. I just don't know like time-wise where we would necessarily be like, hey, I'm going to go backpacking for 2 weeks. Like my kids are pretty young. I don't know if I would definitely do that.
Right.
I'd love to, I'd definitely love to get back into like doing some more boxing. I've been, Rob Wolf's been trying to get me to go down there and do some Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which I'd love to get back into. So I think at the end of the day, like barbecuing some good steaks, lifting weights, burning metal, and basically raising my kids, I think would be my hobbies. I like to read.
McQuilkin?
You take it.
Sure. I guess what I'd like to do, but don't do, are the following. Like I enjoy any sort of sports. I just like playing sports. So up until moving out here, and a little bit while we were out here,
we should get into playing pickleball.
Well, I mean, that's what we did for a little bit, but
I'd love to get back. I'd love to play.
It was football, softball, and then any sort of recreational shit, like whether it's spike ball. Like I just always have maintained a level of competitiveness in rec league sports. And that had been for years, and I haven't really made time for it. And then also just more carpentry, I guess. I'm not into the metal fab, but any sort of like basic framing or carpentry or little tasks or fixing shit around the house. Like I truly like doing that. I like opening up the toolbox, taking things apart, trying to figure out why they're broken or what needs to be fixed. Probably fuck it up once or twice trying to fix it, and then go buy a new one if it's beyond repair, or try to repair
I like that.
it. So that being a homeowner, as you know, is like that kind of that shit just deals itself to you. Like, so you don't have to necessarily plan it, so to speak. But there'll be little shit that Ash wants me to build. The one thing I bailed on is in our upstairs kind of like loft TV area. She wanted me to build these cabinets. And I'm like, I don't have cabinet grade tools. I just have I have frame grade tools. And if you try to make cabinets with frame grade saws and shit like that, like it's just going to look so shitty and I'm gonna have to hear about it. Like I know it. So I bailed on that and we actually hired a guy. But now in retrospect, I'm like, man, I should have just done it.
Yeah, but like I know exactly what you're saying. Like it would almost be easier, like if you could get somebody to do all the cuts, and the assembly and put it together. Like I could do all that, but like the saws and the way they do the cuts and how they lay it out and this, like it, like. And maybe
that's it. Maybe I'm copping out, and maybe I could have rented tools as well. But then even rented tools aren't the best. But what I do come to find out is my neighbor across the street, who I've come to become close with, is they have a wood shop that is like has been trimmed out by some German tool manufacturer, and it's like a world-class tool shop that they use for online content and for like wood training classes. And he's like, dude, anytime, come over. I'm like, oh, this has changed everything.
Their house?
No, it's right down the street in Spicewood.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like kind of by Hellbent Holsters.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, that's sweet, number one. But number two is like, he's like, except we can't really do anything right now during like
COVID.
Yeah. So I've come to find this out over the past few months, but that has like really broadened my horizon on like tinkering with stuff and building stuff. So I really enjoy doing that stuff. So I got the sports, the woodworking, and then I guess most of the things I spend time on are now going into like fatherhood and just trying to nail down core values and game plan and firm our position as parents. You go into this thing and you start to realize like Ash's experience and my experience, as much as we've been together for a decade and have shared, but we haven't shared everything, right? And like I think we're uncovering as the little kid gets older, like what are consequences going to look like? Like what is our discipline going to look like? What are holidays going to look like? Because she's not old enough yet to talk back and get in trouble. You know what I mean? But like we're not aligned on that. Not that we disagree. We just haven't experienced it. And I'm trying to like build just a framework that is, I mean, it maybe as douchey as it sounds, like what we've done with the power athlete methodology and how we can literally take any training problem, any athlete's problem, put them in the grinder through that methodology and come out with a damn good approach to getting them prepared in the best fashion. Like I'm trying to frame that up into a true system, not just this theoretical system I may have been talking about for a long time, listeners. So there's like, I ruminate and journal and meditate a lot on that stuff. Like that's probably the most amount of time I spend, like 90 minutes daily on that. So, which doesn't leave time for much else though outside of work. I mean, because we also enjoy what we're doing here. I mean, we spend a good chunk of time here, whether it's training, whether it's doing what we're doing here, spinning up content or anything else with Power Athletes. So we got to light up that pickleball, though. I think that's
there is a new spot opening October 10th in Drip. That's a covered pickleball court and mini golf.
To play, dude. Now that I mean, even though my shoulder still fucking hurts, I will gladly go play pickleball with you guys.
Yeah, I'll pull up this new spot. It's a great family friendly. And
is your pickleball playing any better than your ping pong playing?
Not even close. Like,
are
it's
you
terrible, dude?
It's better.
Hang on. What do you think your lifetime record is against me in pickleball?
Well, one-on-one?
Yeah.
Or when I'm stuck with a schlub like TC?
Did you call TC a slub?
That's actually, it's very accurate.
A schlub. Well, what's even better is I used the term schlub, and then you asked me, and I was like, well, think TC. And you were like, oh, yeah, that's a schlub.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah. But let's say one-on-one.
One-on-one, we're quite competitive.
You think we're 50% wins? I'm not talking about close games.
We haven't played since January when you went down with this illness.
Oh, his injury? He's been faking?
My feelings are
your
hurt,
hangover?
John.
Well,
My hangover from New Year's?
oh, God, that'll happen.
Do this New Year's.
The one thing which I'm pretty excited. I don't know if it's necessarily a hobby or just part of like my duties here at on the property, is the stalking and the figuring out of like the migration patterns of pigs, I can kill them.
And I guess to add on, like I do enjoy hunting as well. However, like going to free time, right? Like just because most of my hunting is time spent with my old man, and it requires travel. That's kind of what I reserve that time for, whether, I try to join him in the goose season, which I already missed, but we definitely do the prairie dog hunts and stuff like that, which is kind of not real hunting.
It's more like killing.
Yeah. And
just blasting varmints.
But I really do enjoy waterfowl hunting. I've gone deer hunting. I'm okay with it, but like I like the waterfowl because like you don't have to be extremely stealthy. You can spend you could chat, you can mess around on your phone. Like it's a lot easier because all you gotta do is keep eye on the horizon, and when you see something, then you're calling them in, and that's when there's a clear game on. Mm-hmm. It's not like a sit and wait. But I also haven't gone deer hunting where it's like a stalk. Like if I could, it's just sitting there is not like, I'm not good at that yet. Sitting and waiting. Yeah. But if we could do like a hunt and stalk type deal, and not necessarily a backpack thing either, because that's a little too gnarly. I'm not into it yet. But like a hunt and stalk, I think I could get down on.
Yeah. No, I mean, just like thinking about what, when we had Aaron Schneider on the podcast, like, man, like the ability to be able to do that, but like, I'm sure it's kind of like baby steps. Like you'd probably have to go for 2 days and then you probably extend it over time. But man, I think that's really exciting. I mean, some of the hunts that, some of the guys I know, like I was supposed to go on that big Chino hunt with Bert and those guys, but had homeschooling and a bunch of other stuff that didn't necessarily make it happen. So I'd like to push that. But man, I'd love every time we walk into somebody's house, and I'm just thinking of one of our friends, Eric, go over to his house, and he has this like amazing elk skull. Like he shot this like trophy elk in Colorado and then had the skull done and mounted, and they have it over their fireplace. And I came in and was like, I want one of those. Yeah.
And on the hunt side, asking my old man about it, he's been lifelong. Like since he's been 8 years old, he's been hunting. His cousin Don was his mentor. Then after that, he got into a group with a couple guys, and then he started mentoring guys. And it was just like kind of like this organic, old school, sorry, Zach, but sportsman's lifestyle is what he's ultimately lived and maintained. And in retrospect, one thing he said, he's like, I wish I would have done more guided hunts. I worked really hard to not get a lot done because he ended up going on this guided hunt for his caribou up in Newfoundland. But then even when you look at that, not only is it time prohibitive, it's kind of cost prohibitive too.
Oh, it's not
so
cheap.
It's like, man, so with that said, is I would really have to rearrange how I'm spending my time and money to facilitate something like that at this point in my life.
Well, but think about it. I mean, it's not only the money, but you have to physically be prepared to go do that.
Yeah.
So you got to go shoot enough. You got to make sure your gear's dialed. You have to go out and prepare. It's not like you're just like, hey, I haven't shot my gun in a year and I haven't done any training.
You're right. It's not that trip. It's the runway, right? Yeah. Like you're saying, it's the whole runway and prep, because the last thing you want to do is drop 8 Gs, be a shitty shot, and like miss a trophy,
or not be in good enough shape to even fucking get out there.
Right. So
it like is the other day when the pigs were out there, and I had I hadn't seen the pigs for a while, and had like swapped optics, taking guns apart, cleaning everything, and was kind of like hadn't put everything back into like the working order. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I go out there and I see the pigs, and I'm like, and I just started rattling 45s off at them, thinking I could hit them. But no, I think that there's definitely like a real preparation and that piece associated with it.
Oh shit, my battery. Well, we'll pause for station identification. What a hack. But yet that is, and I don't know how to boot that one up too. But I think it's just going to have to be something I pick up later, And I guess advice for people who are looking for a hobby. Well, but I mean, what would your advice be, John?
Like I was kind of thinking on that hunting deal, like if like especially like a bunch of people out here have like deer leases and different things, and then you got to drive a couple hours and spend and it's like all of a sudden it's 2 or 3 days away. And like, I got 3 kids that are, Cashy starts on Saturday with his like sports thing. Jamie's got dance, Kelly's got riding. I mean, like all these other things. So I kind of find like, on like the weekends or certain parts of the day, we kind of split this thing, and it's kind of hard to be like, all right, I'm just going to leave for a couple days and go. Mm-hmm. So, but I would like appreciate if there was like a hunting lease or someplace I could like drive to and like wake up at like 3 a.m, go hunt it and come back. But I think the hunting, I think the pig thing is a lot of fun because you can just blast as many of them as you see.
Yeah. And they're changing their patterns because they know.
Dude, they're smart. So after I shot that one the other night, they have not come back in the same path. So I lined game cameras from how I saw they came. They haven't come back on that same path. So, and they're coming stealthy. So now I'm going to have to like rearrange like where they're not coming on. Now I'm going to have to put them in completely different places to try to track them. Because what I do is I track their movement on the cams. It texts me and then I go out and wait on them and I fucking blast them.
Yeah, I'll jump in. The main, essentially, talk about drip and dripping springs on here, and life goal is essentially to be a member of community and finding a way through my hobbies to inject into that. So coaching lacrosse, and then they have a great program within the high school and the middle school, and then we're connecting with families, and I see them in the grocery store or
what about like
at
Chamber
the local
of Commerce
bars.
for you? Like City Council, Chamber of Commerce?
Well, and this election day, I'm going to volunteer to then stand at the polls and be a part of that. So using the hobby of coaching and finding the greatest gift that I ever got was playing the sport of lacrosse. So then giving back to the community through that, and then joining and being friendly with my community. I love Dripping Springs so much. Reminds me of my Katy growing up before Katy blew up. Now it's bigger than Pittsburgh, but that is in line. And then now tinkering with household items. During the Brew with the Crew, we had some lawn mow adventures that was able to break down, rebuild, break down again, rebuild it, and get the lawn mowing functioning. And I have my also goal of DJs forcing me into doing these things because on the K30, because he's just too damn busy with his work projects, and then shit he's got to do with John on
one day a week
on their projects, only one day a week versus always being here.
Yeah, no, I there's but
right. So now it's
be nice if that little weasel was here all the time.
Yeah, but now he can just say no, you can do that, or no, that you got to find, like we'll find some time. So shit that's outside of my range, he lets me know, or something that's easy and then is there to check my homework.
You're gonna have to do AC on that truck one of these days,
or just
not
tough it out. I'm fine.
Oh man,
maybe one day, but in line with the truck and then the home, it's always something. I've planted a peach tree, so I aim to get some fruits out of my labor.
Hey-o.
Pun there. And yeah, creating the vision for the lawn, because it is not aesthetically pleasing, and I got a lot of care to give to make my front yard attractive.
And so here's the tricky thing on that, because we're in the same fight. I think you're in a much harder fight because you're over in there's no HOA over there, so there's no one pressing for like lawn care and stuff. And not that your lawn necessarily was even
he's got a big lawn too,
mismanaged. It's just that like it's so much. Like to keep that thing weed free and to keep that. Do you know what type of sod you even have?
No,
it's either Augusta or Bermuda. But like it's so sparse because the weeds are just so amazing,
dude. So you got to put down that pre-emergent.
Oh,
well, before that you got to clear weed. Like if you don't clear the weeds before the pre-emergent.
Well, I got the tiered levels, so I cleared all those weeds. So I need to do that before. And this rain didn't help because now the weeds are starting to take back over before I have time.
Well, the pre-emergent kills the weeds from growing, like new weeds growing.
Right. So now I got to play catch up.
And then you'll probably want to put like a winter rye down for something to like.
Which is in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a long weekend ahead of me, or next 2 weeks. And then a fun hobby within that is like I have a golf course now in my backyard. So a little chipper. So 3 holes to... when I have social gatherings and it's not 100 degrees, actually have some fun field games within the back, because there's a space. And there is this twinkle in the eye for a pup that I have no excuse not to. And
dog owner now, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
just
let me
finding the right.
What about cornhole? I like to play cornhole. Like to me, every time I see people playing cornhole, it looks like they're drinking, having a lot of fun.
Luke, I can task you with woodworking some cornhole.
I think it's easier just to go buy those
games.
things.
Too boring. I need something with more action.
Like throwing axes?
Yeah, that'll work. Or Beersby. You ever play Beersby?
Pole?
Yeah, the pole. with the beer on it.
We just called it pole.
But you throw frisbee and try to knock this thing off, but then there's an element of like catching it and saving it. So there's like a little bit of reactive and open loop to it. So that game's fun. But just throwing like a bag on a thing and blah, blah, blah. That's not my thing, man.
Well, I also
Poor man's bowling.
You played Can Jam? We want to talk about, we can do a whole podcast on freaking beer drinking field game sports.
Anywho, my point to your grass thing is you're looking at if you're not going to just sod, it's a multi-year turn. Yeah. So you're like, it's a 3-year project, which I'm sure is right in your wheelhouse.
I also want, and this is a far-fetching, I want a green within there, but I don't think
Do you have sprinklers in your?
No.
No, so that's going to be a huge problem.
But if I put the green like up on the top level, so I can where I chip up to, and then I just got to manually.
Not that you want to do this, but what you're probably going to have to do is you're going to have to probably tear it all out down to dirt and go put in some form of irrigation. And then at that point, you're going to have to resod it, and then you're going to have to do like pre-emergent chemicals, kind of fight that whole thing and grow it back. So it's kind of a heavyweight fist fight. And
especially grass out here with the heat and with the weeds. And then when you get a dog and that dog is pissing on that and kill
not my dog.
Female dog. The male dogs, at least I've never had the burns, so I've had the female dogs too.
So there's another battle to fight once you get that.
I got a system.
You're going to get a little, like a little chow.
Look how many, you've seen me getting my ass kicked with all these stuff. I mean, I put out pre-emergent on this one, and I got to do, grass, but it's good that I have the horses come through and eat it, and then they poop everywhere, and that's why I drag that harrow around.
Well, there you have it, folks. We're a little over.
Lawn care is, would you say?
Yeah.
Lawn care.
But that's
and home and ranch projects are like that's my hobby.
I don't know if can that be classified as a hobby, or is it more like a life sentence?
Well,
if you're a home,
it's a hobby for my neighbor, that old man that we saw.
He's got a great setup.
Yeah, he's retired.
Well, it's like the welding. I enjoy welding as a hobby, but we weld for the blocks, so it's actually useful.
Yeah.
So. Oh yeah, a little piece of my heart breaks every time somebody posts some, and I know that those blocks weren't good because the trigger went out. So I ended up figuring out that it was the trigger went bad. So that's why it was cutting out. So I replaced the trigger and the liner in the gun, and it's fine now. But that little bit, I was so upset as I was handing. I don't know. Well, you weren't here, but as I was handing them over, I was like, ugh. And then people were posting pictures. And I'm just going to throw up in my mouth.
Not that angle.
Yeah. Why did you miss it here? Oh, God damn it. So.
Well, there you have it. Trucks and hobbies of
and
the
kids
crew.
and wives.
Yeah.
And barbecue.
That's what happens.
Grass.
That's what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to another episode of the Premier Podcast on Strength and Conditioning. If you have a question, we've got answers. The hotline is open. And is it cold or?
No, it's hot.
Hot.
Very hot.
That's right. 929-464-4640. What are you thinking about?
The cold line? That's a terrible joke.
929-464-4640. 929-ing-0. I'd have you Google it, Tex, but I don't have that much time. Literally, Google can give you millions of answers in 0.0001
Well, the problem is he's
seconds.
using DuckDuckGo.
Oh, no, not even. He's Alta Vista.
He's using Bing.
Ask Jeeves is what he's using. You don't like this joke?
I don't get it.
Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Until next time.
Now it's time for you to empower your performance. Head to powerathletehq.com/training to choose from a number of programs to meet your specific performance goals. And if you like to break a mental sweat too, visit academy.powerathletehq.com and become a real stakeholder in you or your athlete's success. Until next time, bye!